Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our Current Challenges Facing Modern Manufacturers webinar today. My name is Walter Goodfield, and I'm the Chief Business Officer here at RKLE Solutions. I've been working with technology solutions now for over 25 years, both selling, implementing, supporting mid-market manufacturing companies, both as a partner and as a publisher. I've had roles with some of the leading publishers in the market like Sage, CDC Software, and Infor. If for those of you that aren't familiar, RKLE Solutions is a national certified reselling partner for Sage Solutions. Sage relies on partners like us to sell, support, and implement mid-market companies like Roush Yates today. And again, our team is scattered from coast to coast. Our role here is to be that expert for you to maximize the investment in the software package of your choosing. And it's my honor to welcome our guest speaker today, Marianne Maldwin from Roush Yates Engines. Good afternoon, Marianne. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Great. Marianne is obviously from Roush Yates Engines. She's been the COO of Roush Yates Engines now since 2004. In her current role, she has responsibility for all of the aspects of the company's operations, including finance, procurement, HR, IT, quality, and change control management. Marianne's worked in various manufacturing and operations fields for over 30 years now and is a credentialed industry expert. During her career, she's achieved APICS Certified Supply Chain Professional Certification and has served on the board of directors for APICS as president of the Charlotte chapter, regional vice president, and on the national board of directors. She's certified at the fellow level in production and inventory management, has achieved her CFPIM and CSCP certifications. Marianne's an accomplished speaker. She's joined us for other speaking events with our customer base, and she's also been interviewed by Wall Street Journal for her contributions to operations management in the racing industry. Clearly, we're not the Wall Street Journal, Marianne, but thanks for joining today. Currently, she's been instrumental in diversifying and leading Roush Yates Engines to adding a world-class AS9100 certified manufacturing facility. Under her leadership, the machine shop facility has successfully grown from 30,000 square feet and 18 CNC machines to 100,000 square feet and 50 CNC machines. During this growth in the machine shop, they've also expanded their industry coverage to include aerospace, defense, and medical industries to complement, obviously, the racing. Today, Marianne will provide more insight about Roush Yates Engines' diversification strategy. And real quick, Marianne, one more. For those on our audience that aren't familiar with Roush Yates Engines, Roush Yates Engines was formed by the legendary engine builder and NASCAR Hall of Famer Robert Yates, his son Doug Yates, and Jack Roush. Roush Yates Engine is the exclusive engine builder of the Ford FR9 engine for the NASCAR racing series, along with other international racing series. And their drivers are currently enjoying a lot of success in the Cup Series, and Kevin Harvick is leading the standings. So again, with that, Marianne, thanks for joining. You've got an impressive resume. It took me a long time to read through that, but we're excited to hear from you and for you to share your manufacturing expertise with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it well. It's
Great.
A long history.
It is. Very accomplished. Thanks again. Let's jump right in. I don't know any other way, so we're going to jump right in here. Obviously, the pandemic has affected all of us in some way or another, our businesses, our personal lives. It's clearly been a distraction. For some, it's created challenges and opportunities. I know for you guys with your engine shop, the race schedule has thrown you a curveball. The NASCAR racing series in general, up until recently hasn't had fans in the stands, and even your trackside support team looks a little bit different this year. So I'd like you to just talk about how has the team at Roush Yates responded during the crisis?
You know, we're used to having to do things quickly. Competition adds a lot of skills that you don't really think about. But first of all, employee safety was most important. And we immediately looked at those people who could work remotely and put that in place. Those who had to be in the shop for assembly and testing and so forth, we implemented a temperature check and wearing masks immediately. And then for those who were traveling, we had two groups of people. One group would travel 1 week and then stay home the next to quarantine, and then we would have the second crew go. So we really have been able to accomplish this seamlessly. And we've been so very fortunate to not have people sick.
Yep. One thing's for sure, for those that follow the NASCAR series, it hasn't slowed the drivers or your success. We enjoy watching Ford drivers celebrate in victory lane. So again, congratulations. I'm sure that makes it a little bit easier to come to work on Monday.
It certainly does. I've mentioned before that our reward is Chick-fil-A on Monday. And so we are their primary customer for sure.
Good. Let's continue on. I've got a list of today's topics that we're going to hit on for the viewers today, and I wanted to revisit the growth in the machine shop to start. I think earlier I said that in the last 2 years, the machine shop has grown from 30,000 square feet to 100,000 square feet, and 18 machines to 50 machines. Obviously, that's impressive growth that you've been able to manage. Some of that was by diversification of industries, but can you talk a little bit more about that growth and how you've managed to maintain a safe workplace while tripling the machinery in the shop itself?
Certainly. Well, initially we had a small machine shop within our assembly plant, and it was to make prototype parts. We needed quick turnaround and proprietary equipment and parts manufacturing. So that's how we started making parts. They were very technical, and we eventually have vertically integrated to the point that we make about 40% of the parts that go in our engine. We had other race teams ask us to make parts for them. So we added some equipment. We moved into a separate facility. We started looking for better tools to manage our machine shop, and that's really how we've used Sage. We have used a lot of simulation capabilities, and then as time has progressed, we decided that we wanted to diversify into other industries. And so with that, we realized, as always, you have to have certification and recognition in order to be a viable supplier. So we immediately investigated ISO 9000. We became certified within 6 months. And then we wanted to raise the bar to aerospace. So we needed AS 9100 certification. So we did that. And then we added a lot of defense business, and with the pandemic realized that the medical business was a great opportunity, especially making ventilators. So we had a consultant come in and we looked at ISO 13485, and we're currently doing a gap analysis, and we'll start working on that certification next. We also looked at our key or our core competencies. Pretty much in the racing arena, our business is developing and assembling and testing engines and continuously improving the horsepower, the functionality, and the performance. So with that, we are very careful not to release products without all of the testing and simulation. So that brought us some core foundational competencies right from the beginning. So as we moved into a larger facility, then we were able to add more 5-axis lights out machines, automation, and it gave us the ability then to diversify our customer base.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna jumble up the questions a little bit on here because I want to follow up on the diversification, especially. And you hit on a couple of things. You know, your key competencies, right, or your core competencies. You know, and I know for every manufacturer, you know, they're struggling with, you know, on-time delivery, quality, and profitability. Um, how has COVID made you look at other, you know, business opportunities? When you talked about the diversification, you know, I know that there are some other things that we talked about, like the assembly process, the subcontract processes, other bottlenecks in the manufacturing workflow that maybe were cause for concern, or new opportunities for you.
You know, one of the things that we have learned is in the quoting process, how effective we need to be as far as what is the focus for our customer base. And so back to your point about quality and on-time delivery and profitability, we had a lot to learn in that area, and we always expensed our tooling for the machines. And when you're making parts, of course, for other people, then those things have to be considered, the programming time. So we had to look at the cost to quote, the cost to manufacture, as well as the need to deliver on time and deliver a quality product. So those were our initial concerns. Then we looked strategically at where we wanted to go, and we did a 5-year plan. So that's how we determined which machines we needed to purchase, where they should be located, and how many of each type we wanted in our facility. So we did those things first before having a large customer base. We were very fortunate to be able to do that, as opposed to creating the customer base first and then trying to fill in later.
What you talked about using some of the tools to help make those business decisions, you know, the what if analysis. Can you elaborate more on the tools and the process and maybe the thought process of using those analytical tools with data to help you make better decisions?
Yes, and I'll go back to the quoting process to begin with. Most of our customers have a required delivery time. And so we're able to go in and with our estimated time of programming, and then the cycle time for the machine, the setup time, through all the processes, and put that in our database and determine where the bottlenecks are, and if we're going to be able to meet that due date that the customer is requesting. And that's basically where our quoting process starts. Number one, can we do what the customer is asking for?
Yeah. As you grew, right, obviously you've been incorporating automation, and obviously for manufacturers that are being pushed to be more efficient and profitable, this is a big challenge for them. Over the next decade, we think that organizations that can meet these challenges will not only survive, but continue to thrive. You know, what challenges and successes have you seen with automation and that transition, even just tripling the automation on the floor, but using the technology and the tools that I know you have in the cup shop and the machine shop?
One of the most frequent issues that we had, especially in the beginning, was just the technical expertise needed to maintain the equipment. They are very complex machines. So we first needed the ability to have notification when the machine went down for any reason. So we worked with the machine manufacturers to have alerts that would email our maintenance personnel. We found that we had power blips that were causing issues with our sensitive equipment. So we had to meet with our power supplier, our energy company, and we have since installed equipment that monitored that. We also have partnered with tooling suppliers, not just from the standpoint of saving money and finding the best pricing on tooling, but to find the best tool for the application. And that's just been a wealth of information for us, as opposed to buying tools and gauges from the least cost supplier. We have partnered strategically with companies such as MMUSA to have them come in and help us determine which tools should be used for that material, for that job, for the function of the part.
Yeah, great. Going to switch gears a little bit again here and move on to managing inventory. Obviously, managing inventory is a key problem in manufacturing and distribution industries. It's something that we see in a lot of the walkthroughs that we do with a prospective client or even existing customers when we're looking for ways to optimize their efficiency, not just with software, but with their own business processes. As you know, there's a fine balance between having too much inventory, too little inventory, maintaining the right level of customer service. Can you talk about the process of some of the decisions that Roush Yates Engines has had to make as a result of the pandemic, and how that's changed or affected your business going forward?
Well, our goal at the engine shop has always been 12 turns per year, and we've maintained that well. The difficult part there is doing that with all the engineering changes we have, because if something creates another horsepower, then the fact that you have $10,000 of inventory or whatever the amount is not relevant to
Right.
the race team. So we have to be careful from that standpoint as well. But from the manufacturing side, we had to define whether the customer order was a job shop type requirement, or whether it was a high volume, long term type agreement. Because with the job shop type work, we only purchased the material we needed specifically for that job. We have been very fortunate. We have raw material suppliers who are within a 5-mile radius, and they deliver daily. So we don't maintain very much raw material for those types of customers. For long-term agreements, when we have a 3 to 5 years commitment to make the same parts, we do carry inventory. So during the pandemic, we were very concerned about the supply chain. So we contacted those key suppliers, and we actually purchased up to 3 months of material to have on the shelf here, as well as committed to inventory at their location. So
Wow.
we really have been very successful there. The other concern, though, has been in our service suppliers. We passivate parts and materials. We paint, have parts painted and so forth. And what we found quickly was that with the pandemic, some of these facilities, especially the smaller ones, were having to shut down for 10 days at a time because of people who were sick. So we were in the process of looking at more vertical integration during that time, and it really expedited that cause. So we have started painting parts in-house over the last 8 weeks, and we're still in parallel, though, sending some parts out for paint. But as far as the other suppliers, we've extended our lead time again through our simulation capabilities in the software. We've added at least a week of lead time just to have a buffer to make sure that we are delivering the parts to the outside service in time for them to get that work done and then returned. We have kept in constant contact with those suppliers as well, just to know what's going on and if we need to do anything differently. In some cases, they've requested that we change lot sizes, that we change transportation methods and packaging.
Wow.
So those are the biggest issues.
I'm curious. You said, and these are my words, not yours, but it sounds like you had a plan to maintain 3 months worth of safety stock. Maybe not those exact terms, but how are you still managing that? Are you starting to phase that out, or was that a necessary evil to get through the early stages of the pandemic? What's the outlook in terms of that, business process?
We are phasing that out. Again, with constant contact with those suppliers, we have started using our safety stock, and we plan to return to our 1 month of supply by the end of December.
Great. Good luck.
Thanks.
Let's go ahead and switch. Obviously, we're not at the track. Would love to be doing this from Las Vegas, but nobody's traveling. I know your support staff is limited as well. You guys are in round 2 of the playoffs. I wanted to just talk about the machine intelligence and having information trackside, but more importantly, how with the Internet of Things, obviously, ERP is connected, remote workforces are connected. There's a lot of information available through these web browsers and remote access. Can you just talk a little bit about how you collect that useful information that helps with the predictive analysis throughout the business and the organization, and maybe just shed a little bit more light on how Roush Yates Engine is specifically using that data intelligence to help with the predictability going forward?
We test everything we do. And if we're going to introduce a new part, we will run that through our simulation software numerous times. And we have the ability to use the same location, the same temperatures, so that we can simulate that actual track and the things that usually happen there. Once we do that, then we build the engine, and our testing at the end of the engine assembly, we only allow within 3 horsepower difference of each engine before we ship it to any customer. So we make sure that we are certifying that every engine we send is the same. You can imagine how drivers feel like he got a better engine than me.
Right.
So, we send that data to our teams. So our teams are able to download that before the race even occurs. And so they see everything that we ran during our test, our simulations. And then we deliver the engine to the race team. We go to the race team then during the installation of the engine, and we work through chassis dynoing with them to make sure everything is ready. And I think that if you've watched the races, you have seen that the biggest difference this year has been that there hasn't been qualifying or practice. And so we have been so very successful because we are ready once we hit the track. and you see other teams working on their cars throughout the race. And so our success, I think, has proven how important it is to be prepared and how important that data is. We have years of data from each racetrack, and so it has certainly paid off.
Yeah. And I don't want to be in the engine shop or at Roush when they get that engine and one is maybe three more horsepower than the other. I don't want to know how they fight to figure that one out.
No, absolutely not.
Maybe they arm wrestle. I don't know. We've got one final question, and we'll maybe take a look at to see if anybody's submitted anything through the Q&A in the chat. And this one is probably near and dear to your heart. Obviously, with 30 years in the manufacturing through various industries and organizations, where some of the experts are predicting that there's going to be a manufacturing skills gap as soon as 2025, right? They're looking at an aging workforce and predicting that manufacturers like you are facing a looming labor shortage. Some predict maybe up to 2 to 3.5 million jobs, in as little as 5 years. Depending on who you believe or what number, I think we can agree though that there are some challenges staffing the manufacturing workforce going forward. So how is Roush Yates Engines preparing for that labor shortage, or what are some of the initiatives that you have to make sure that you have the quality staff needed to meet the needs of your clients and your industries?
We were very concerned about this even 5 to 10 years ago. So we decided that we would write our own curriculum and we would train machinists internally. So we actually, and I was a part of writing the curriculum, we hired a person who got all the certifications for the state of North Carolina to allow us to give certification credit for people who came through our training. And the day that we announced that we were going to start this school, one of our partners, UTI, contacted us and said, well, we would like to actually do this with you. And so they actually purchased our curriculum and started their own machining course. They have been doing that now for 3 years. We have never had an issue with lack of machinists. We've hired over 100 students from NASCAR Tech, which is a part of UTI, and they not only train students to be technicians, car technicians, or work for race teams, they have an entirely separate curriculum that trains students to be machinists. So we hire them during the time they're in school as interns, and we help them with that training. So we have been very fortunate to always have a great group of students waiting to be hired as machinists. So that fortunately has not affected us.
Good. I think the lesson here for everybody is to be proactive, right? You didn't wait for that skills gap to occur. You were proactive, working with the local institutions, helping to educate that next generation. I think you have a little bit of an advantage. NASCAR is pretty exciting. And it's obviously a popular sport. So I'm sure there are some people that just that gravitate towards UTI because of NASCAR, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got a little bit of a home field advantage there, but obviously the lesson is to be proactive for our audience to foster those local relationships and to maybe be prepared or preparing themselves. I don't have any more questions, Marianne. If there's something you want to maybe tell a couple jokes or.
Well, I think the most exciting news, Walt, is that Michael Jordan has partnered with Denny Hamlin and bought a race team. So we're all anxious to meet Michael at the racetrack.
Well, that, and you fingers crossed, it's a Ford team, right? I don't think they disclosed his manufacturing alliance yet, right?
No, he hasn't.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marianne. We're excited too. Obviously, on behalf of everybody here at RKL and our audience today, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and your insight as far as what's impacting manufacturers today. A wise man once told me, and he may even be listening, that our favorite Ford driver is the one in victory lane this week. So we're pulling for the Ford teams, for all the Ford teams that Roush Racing Engines obviously powers. So good luck at the track this week. For those in our audience that don't know, NASCAR's in round 2 of the playoffs, and as I said earlier, Kevin Harvick is leading the standings. So we wish you continued success at the track, and obviously in the machine shop in Charlotte. And again, can't thank you enough for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Great. That's it. So have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.